Communist China is conducting a sophisticated soft war against America, with the dual objectives of dethroning America as the world's top superpower and replacing it as the dominating force in China's immediate region. Every area of our society is impacted by Communist China's agenda, including the economic, technical, educational, political, and cultural spheres. With a $14 trillion GDP, 1.4 billion people who are filled with confidence and nationalist fervor, and an assertive communist party in charge of a modern military, China is determined to reclaim its title as the Middle Kingdom and undo the embarrassment of being dominated by the West for the majority of the last 2 centuries. The deliberate use of hard force by China, including the development of offensive weaponry, the brutal repression of free expression and assembly in Hong Kong, the ongoing military exercises and advisories directed towards Taiwan, and the colonization of the South China Sea is alarming enough. The employment of soft power by China, particularly via its United Front Work Department, should be a focus as well, or UFW. In spite of its innocent-sounding name, the UFW, according to June Teufel-Dreyer in a 2018 Other Policy Research Institute research, aims to influence the policies of foreign nations towards Chinese purposes, via techniques that may be legal, unlawful, or exploit gray areas. The United States is China's primary target in its worldwide attack. The United Front Work Department, which has an estimated yearly budget of $2.6 billion, exerts political influence on American colleges, academic presses, think tanks, schools, school boards, businesses, and movie studios. The UFW is taking advantage of America's open democratic practices to further its authoritarian goals and influence American policy. The Chinese People's Association for Friendship and Foreign Countries, or CPA-FFC, which frequently approaches American officials in different states with offers of trips to China and discussions of potential investments in technological sectors that could affect the U.S. national security, is the UFWD's public face. The group is well prepared for its talks, since a research tank in Beijing has graded the opinions of all 50 U.S. governors towards China as either friendly, hardline, or ambiguous. Once a connection has been formed, CPA-FFC won't hold back when exerting pressure. In one instance, according to Secretary Pompeo, a Chinese official threatened to renege on a deal if a particular governor visited Taiwan, whose democratically elected president Beijing considers to be too independent. No one is insignificant in the eyes of the CPA-FFC. Via so-called sister city initiatives, its members nurture country education boards and regional politicians. Political control is being fought everywhere for Beijing. While foreign individuals and businesses are prohibited from making direct donations to federal campaigns, they are permitted to make indirect contributions via U.S. subsidiaries. The CPP benefits from our federalist system, since many states do not forbid foreign funding of local elections. The employment of former top government officials by overseas businesses is permitted as well. An ex-congressman from the United States works as a lobbyist for the U.S.-China Trans-Pacific Foundation, a group supported by Beijing that sends groups of lawmakers from the United States to China to improve their knowledge of political, social, and economic developments on the Chinese mainland. The CCP is aware that lobbying is crucial in Washington, D.C. Chinese businesses admitted shelling out $3.8 million in 2017 and $20.2 million overall for government lobbying. State-owned Chinese corporation Wanhua Chemical is one example. The ACC, according to the outlet The Intercept, is unusually active in engaging in American politics. Wanhua's black money contribution to the ACC was significant, as was made clear in an Intercept series of stories exposing foreign interference in U.S. elections. According to the article, a real estate firm with Chinese ownership sent money straight to the super PAC backing Jeb Bush's failed presidential bid. And there is the more recent influence of Hunter Biden, who joined the board of BHR Partners, a new Chinese private equity firm backed by China's top state banks, when his father was vice president, and therefore the CCP. According to a representative for Hunter Biden, Biden didn't buy his 10% financial investment in BHR until after Joe Biden, the vice president, had left office. Hunter kept his 10% ownership in BHR, but left the board in April 2020. The son of the next president has acknowledged that the federal government is looking into his taxes. The U.S. has launched an effort in its soft war with China after years of ignoring its aggressive lobbying and technology theft. The Chinese consulate in Houston was shut down by the State Department last summer as a result of China's very aggressive espionage attempts targeting U.S. intellectual property and American people of Chinese heritage. The infiltration of military and tech sectors in Houston and in the so-called Silicon Hills region of Austin was one of the top espionage goals of Chinese spies. Chinese Americans, who the CCP considers should be loyal to the Xi Jinping dictatorship, were likewise followed and harassed by the consulate. Given China's blatant use of privately developed technology for the aggressive and repressive political ends of the state, the Trump administration also implemented significant targeted economic sanctions against Chinese companies. These sanctions were supported by Republicans and Democrats in Congress and may be maintained under a Biden administration. The Commerce Department placed a significant Chinese drone and semiconductor manufacturer to its export blacklist in December. Following proof of interaction between the Chinese corporation and China's military-industrial complex, sanctions were imposed. Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of Commerce, said that we will not let cutting-edge U.S. technology to assist develop the military of an increasingly hostile foe. The agency said that it was adding the drone manufacturer because it allowed for sophisticated monitoring in China, a blatant violation of human rights. Several Beijing colleges were also put on the blacklist for purchasing or trying to purchase U.S. origin products in support of initiatives for the People's Liberation Army. The United States' determination to defend itself against the theft of American technology is reflected by the blacklist, which currently includes more than 300 Chinese corporations or organizations. The Confucius Institute, which provides language instruction and sponsors activities like speaker series, culinary workshops, and Chinese New Year festivities, is China's main weapon on American university campuses. The National Association of Scholars said that there were 103 Confucius Institutes in the country 3 years ago. The Confucius Institute was labeled a foreign mission by the Chinese Communist Party, assisting Beijing's propaganda and influence activities within the United States by the Trump administration in August 2020, which was worried. The College Board said that it will cut its financial links with the Confucius Institute's headquarters, and the number of institutes fell from over 100 to 67. However, not all American universities are prepared to stop the abundant influx of Chinese yuan. The China-United States Exchange Foundation, or CUSEF, a non-profit organization with headquarters in Hong Kong that is registered as a foreign agent with the Department of Justice, donates money to Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies, or SAIS, a prestigious graduate school and institute for public affairs in Washington. On American universities, Chinese Student and Scholars Associations, or CSSAs, are a more obvious source of Chinese Communist Party influence. However, according to a Hoover Institution analysis and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, CSSAs, which are financed by Chinese embassies and consulates, are directly managed by the CCP. According to Hoover Institution experts Larry Diamond and Orville Schell, American colleges that hold activities considered politically provocative by the Chinese Communist Party and government have been exposed to increased pressure. For instance, Chinese embassy representatives complimented student members of the University of Maryland's CSSA for having sternly reprimanded a Chinese student for positively contrasting American democracy with the authoritarian Chinese option in a graduating address. The Chinese government has encouraged, supported, and provided instructors for Confucius classrooms designed for kids in kindergarten through 12th grade, in addition to the institutes at the college level. There were more than 400 Confucius classrooms in American elementary, middle, and high schools as of February 2020. By painting the best possible picture of the country and its culture, the institutes and the classrooms want to boost China's influence across the world while avoiding any mention of its systematic violation of fundamental human rights. The Chinese Communist Party and its auxiliary groups are masters of the misinformation trade. In contrast to the fact that Wuhan spread the virus to the rest of the world, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien claims that Chinese propaganda convinced enough Americans that a U.S. soldier had brought the coronavirus to Wuhan. As a result, the family and her family required a personal security detail to protect them from threats of violence. The Chinese court jailed a former lawyer who reported on the early stages of the coronavirus epidemic to 4 years in prison last December. The official tolerates no dissent from the party line. She was accused of picking fights and causing chaos. Her unrecognized and true crime was speaking the truth about China's crucial contribution to the virus's spread. America needs to respond in several ways. For starters, we must recognize that China is not a benign rival as we once believed, but rather a determined foe that will do whatever it takes to achieve its objectives. Additionally, we must use every tool at our disposal, including tightening targeted economic sanctions on entities and people responsible for violations of human rights, establishing reciprocity in travel and media access, prohibiting American investment in PLA-controlled firms, particularly in the technology sector, closing down all Confucius institutes and classrooms, and challenging China in all relevant international fora, from the UN to the WHO.